YouTube, what the rat's going on? Or rat crap's going on? One of the two. Welcome to the battlefield, where I'm going to be leading the Skaven against the vampires here. And I figured I had an interesting army in mind that came based off of a tip from someone who was... I can't remember if he was in the Discord or if he was just... I think he was actually commenting back on a video now that I think of it, actually. So here's my Skaven army. So my Skaven army is basically tons of Skaven slaves. Then there's 2 units of clan rats, but 4 slave spears in the back. I think there's 5 standard slave units in front, 2 assassins, and then I've got Skrolk and a couple of Hell Pit abominations. I'm going to come up against the vampires here. Let's slow motion it so you can see their units. He's got a front line with some skeletons and zombies, but otherwise we have a lot of Graveguard involved in the fight here. So yeah, a lot of Graveguard and zombies. There's a couple of bats. And then the Ghoul King is way back here in the back, maybe thinking that I was going to have Warp Lightning cannons. And then there is a horde of cavalry approaching one of my flanks. There are 2 Black Knights and a Blood Knight. It's going to be approaching. So the other piece of my army that I didn't catch, I have 4 Rat Ogres in total that are all in the back line. I'm going to be trying to use this cinematic smoothing camera today too, which I've not really used before. So let's hit play. So my goal with this army is that I'm going to basically cause... just kind of a holding, and that Skrolk and the Hell Pit abominations are going to be doing all the real work here with Rod of Corruption, and just the damage that the abominations cause, and then they heal as well. I'm getting prepared to fight the cavalry in the back. My opponent actually gets kind of blobbed up, which should work out really well for me. I'm going to drop down here into combat and kind of show you. Here comes his Blood Knights and his Black Knights, and they're going to get engaged by my Rat Ogres. And I'm going to support the Rat Ogres with Skaven Slave Spears just to be throwing extra hit points into the mix. And I'm hoping to overwhelm his cavalry. Meanwhile, Skrolk and the Abominations, sounds like a band, a disgusting one. They're over here doing exactly what I would want them to do at the moment, which is to just pin down a bunch of vampires and slowly wither them away. The vampires did quickly break through my center of Skaven slaves. No big surprise there. But the goal here is that if I can take out the cavalry, there's pretty much nothing to stop the Hell Pit abominations. And Ghoul King on a Terrorgeist, although he's anti-large and fairly strong, it won't be enough. So he's going to come in back over here and try and drop some spells. I had used Wither. Unfortunately, the cavalry moved out of range of that Wither. But that was my attempt to try and pull down the cavalry even more. He's going to summon some Crypt Horrors in the midst of my Rat Ogres, so... not great for me, and he's also going to come in here and do some healing as well. So, going to create a tough situation for me because of Invocation and the Heck, but I'm still causing tremendous damage, and he's pouring a lot of resources into that fight. Whoa, not used to this camera. Sorry, give me just a second, folks. Anyway, yeah, while he's pouring resources into that fight, the Hell Pit Abomination continues to do its work over here with Skrolk. And we're just wearing down a ton of vampire infantry. The Terrorgeist actually decided to land here and to try and take out my Rat Ogres, and he very well might. There's a risk that I could Terror out here if he gets the right charges in, but my numbers are massive. You can see it does work on certain units, though. Certain clan rats or Skaven slave spears are routing. You can see he's taken some of his cavalry out of the fight, and he's attempting to cycle charge me, but there's nothing to cycle charge here, really. I mean, there's a few cheap infantry left with these Skaven slaves, but he's really just charging into a lot of my units, and then I'm going to trap him here by summoning up some clan rats, and then he's got his reinforcements coming. And on this side, I'm going to try and keep his reinforcements from being able to help. In the middle here, I'm going to go ahead and use the Rod of Corruption now that he's got a significant blobbing of units. Should be pretty effective for me. Watch this here. As his Graveguard approaches, I summon up a whole bunch of Storm Vermin to block their path. So now we've effectively blocked all of his reinforcements as well, so he cannot throw any extra hit points into this fight for the time being, and my Hell Pit Abominations and the Skrolk just continue to own. Meanwhile, with his cavalry gone, the Terrorgeist gets left to fight most of this, other than just some summoned horrors. And it is not a great place for the Terrorgeist to be, though he will get away. But the cavalry has been mostly dealt with, and my Rat Ogres are coming back from routing. I've got some units out here on the far side that are trying to come back from routing. Sorry, still getting used to that camera there. And I've got even more units here swinging back in from having routed. So I've got a lot of rat ogres on the battlefield, and my opponent has a serious problem here, which is how is he going to kill 2 hell pit abominations? And remember that the assassins can nerf him, and Skrulk has the Liber Bubonicus, which can cause a lot of damage to a single unit target. So out of desperation here, the vampire player is going to charge in with the Terrorgeist, but he's also probably going to be trying to get out of there, at least one would think, but I mean there's really nowhere to go. I've hit him with trophy heads here to slow him down, and then we're going to see the Liber Bubonicus coming in shortly. Now the rat ogres are back, so the Black Knights are going to be hunted down by my rat ogres. So we're going to finish the cavalry so he has no tools left. Again, you can see I have some units that have regrouped. We're going to swing them back into the fight momentarily, but they're not terribly needed right now. The Liber Bubonicus now taking full effect, and the Terrorgeist, again, desperate here to try and get rid of the abominations, but not much he could have really done there. Don't disagree that he tried. I mean, you got to try something, but that's the way this army was set up. If you dive down on Skrulk or the abominations, you're facing a double nerfing from the assassins, not to mention the Liber Bubonicus, and if you try and blob in to kill those units, then Skrulk uses the Rod of Corruption. So again, all of the Skaven slave infantry is just fodder for this build. It is not meant to do anything terribly significant in terms of killing power. It's just meant to hold the enemy. So you can see in terms of kills, yeah, sure, none of my units did fantastic, right? Except for the abominations. One of them actually picked up a chevron in the midst, and Skrulk actually got some decent kills. So none of them got a ton of kills, but that was the point. This army was just here to grind out a ton of enemies. And I felt like in this case, at least, it did it successfully. This army is not invulnerable. It definitely has weaknesses, but the idea here is that I have a lot of fast-moving hitting power with the rat ogres, with a lot of anti-armor in case I have to help chew through some infantry. And again, all of the Skaven slaves are just a ton of hit points to get in the way of the enemy. But again, the rat ogres are meant to be faster to help get to skirmishers, counter cavalry, charge in behind infantry lines. Then the hell pit abominations are just supposed to be really tough targets. And then the assassins and Skrulk synergize with those abominations by tearing up infantry blobs and nerfing enemy lords, heroes, or monsters who try and dive into that fight to break it up. I think what this build would be weak to is a kite build if someone micros it really well, because you're talking about low armor rat ogres, low armor hell pit abominations. So a kiting build would be pretty dangerous. Of course, I was not really worried about that going up against the vampires, but something to be aware of if you think you're going to try that for yourself. Hope y'all enjoyed this one. It's good to be back. I can't wait to make you more videos, so stay tuned. There will be more throughout the week. There'll also be more streams throughout the week, so check the schedule. If you enjoyed this and you want to see more videos, hit that like button for me. It helps other people find it as well. And then click the subscribe and the bell, and you'll know when the newest videos are coming out. Like I said, I can't wait to see you in the next one. HeirofCarthage, signing out for now, folks.